What's poppin', y'all? One of my favorite conversations, which is how rappers lost their footing in comparison to streamers. And this was had by two owners of some of the the top hip hop platforms, and that is Say Cheese, Sean Cotton, who was instrumental in getting several rappers. Like, for example, the beatbox song that you guys heard by Spot 'em Got 'em, he signed that guy. He was very early on to a lot of people's careers. He helped out Rod Wave, or he was supposed to sign Rod Wave actually early on, but the record label at that time, I think it was Alamo Records, went behind his back and signed him directly. A bunch of other like artists in the kind of like more gritty street genre of rap, and a lot of Texas was flowing through Say Cheese and the interviews, of course. And then Adam 22, No Jumper, that just dominated throughout the entire SoundCloud era. And they were having this conversation. It was a really, really insightful interview. But the first thing that I heard was Pooh Shiesty, how much he was asking for an interview and why interviews platforms aren't even interviewing rappers anymore.
But I'm looking at everybody when it comes to rappers to a certain stature.
Yeah.
Nobody's interviewing rappers no more.
Yeah. Why is that though, you think?
For one, it's two things. Rappers don't bring in the views they used to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side of that, once rappers get to a certain level, they want to have this mystique.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Like Doechie's huge, but Doechie's not out doing everybody's podcast.
Yeah.
She'll do one and then chill out for a year or two.
You see what I'm saying?
Or she has the opportunity to go do all these big mainstream looks that she probably thinks are a lot cooler than doing a Vlad or a No Jumper or whatever.
Pooh Shiesty charged me $50,000.
50? What? That's the same number they're throwing out there.
And you couldn't do it?
Man, I laughed at it.
Yeah, I can't do that. Yeah.
This is wild because what's the funny part? 4Extra, who is not a rapper, is not Pooh Shiesty, never had a hit, nothing, wanted I think $50K for his first interview when he got out of the hospital for his hand exploding. And now where is 4Extra? Like, there were several people that were trying to help him get his stuff set up. I know Traplo Ross was trying to help him with something. I know Cam Capone was trying to help him with something. That turned into its own thing. And he cut off Adam 22. Kevin Gates tried to do something with him. And I think Kevin Gates even put him on his album. But he's like, you can't get more of a blessing than that. But where's 4Extra at now? No idea. So it would make sense that a Pooh Shiesty's looking at it like, well, $50K, I don't think that's unreasonable for a Pooh Shiesty. How much is he getting booked for, right? And then you got to look at it from the perspective of a Sean Cotton or an Adam 22, where they're looking at it like, yeah, I understand why Pooh Shiesty would want to charge $50K, but why would I interview you for that much when I may make $15K off of it? So just take a fat L for no reason? It doesn't make any sense. And that's also one of the things that Vlad was trying to tell. The guy's name is escaping me, but I think he was like a comedian, actor, and he was telling Vlad that he wanted a percentage of the back end and like an upfront fee, and Vlad was just like, hey, this just doesn't make sense. For example, Charleston White, if he got paid $15K, he may demand less. He can make $25K because it's just going to hit different. Like, there's more of a demand for that type of content. Like, let's just take a look at Crip Mac, right? Like, Crip Mac recently got released. First thing he did, show up to a No Jumper interview, and that No Jumper interview, he live streamed it as well. But that one did, in terms of views, just for the main interview, right? Which is not even including all of the clips and the short form and stuff. That's at 742K in a couple of days. It hasn't even been a full week. Do you think a Pooh Shiesty, and this is real views, No Jumper doesn't bot their stuff. So do you think an interview with Pooh Shiesty was going to do this much? Nah. And even then it wouldn't be worth $50K. That's what I'm saying. Like, how much do you think he paid Crip Mac or cut a deal with Crip Mac to do this? Probably 10% of that. Maybe max 20% of $50K. So there's that. But then they talked about how even Vlad is, I think he's the guy that's benefited most from this, because for a very long time in Vlad's career, he was somewhat blackballed where they didn't even want to send artists to get interviewed by him because of the nature of the questions that he would ask. Not like police questions, but questions that are going to create great headlines, which are going to be great for us as viewers to watch. They're going to get us intrigued, that are going to give Vlad good viewership, but that may be used to portray the artist in a certain light. And the artist is not going to like that. Their PR is not going to like that. The label's not going to like that. So they're like, hey, just avoid that guy. but they would talk about people aren't even interested in music.
I don't even think fans care about music anymore.
Ugh,
I don't even think they do.
How is that even possible?
But you say that,
People no, people still listen to music.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like people. I remember when cover arts used to come out, and we would just analyze the cover art for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And lyrics, and I remember getting with my boys, we talking about punchlines and what he said, and like music. It's not what it's not.
This is a very good point. I wanted to go against this point and to say stuff like, dog, when we're talking about music, people are still very much into music. There are a lot of artists that have gotten songs with hundreds of millions of streams. New artists in the past couple of years, like that dude, Lyth, right, from Australia. He blew up in terms of songs, right? Let's just say strictly a song. That blew up like crazy. That's got hundreds of millions of streams. $1 Million Baby, that's almost like 1 billion plus streams. You've got I Like the Way You Kiss Me, Artemis, who fire artist, by the way. That's got billion plus streams, and then a lot of his other music is doing very well. So artists are constantly coming up. However, when he's talking about fans don't care as much about the conversation surrounding music, like, yo, the cover art, like, let's talk about this. That's true. And I think it's because maybe when that was peaking, there wasn't much else to talk about that was very entertaining. Like, there was just mainstream entertainment, and then there was niche entertainment, which is, let's say YouTubers were a thing back then. However, they weren't the mainstream thing. So if you watch somebody, it's not like you expected everybody else to watch them, but everybody else was paying attention to the music. And there were theories around cover arts. Remember the snippet era? I think that's the last era where people were just fiending for snippets from damn near any artist. And now nobody cares about a damn snippet. The hell? They're just like, yo, you going to put that out or what? And Sean Cotton gives his assessment on why he thinks this is.
Starts with the fans. Fans, they just don't care. Like, fans, we've seen everything from gay artists to fat artists to skinny artists to artists that got shot 100 times to the fans have seen it all.
You're not going to be gayer than Lil Nas X. You're not going to be fatter than Big X the Plug.
Or the lean dude.
Dave Blunt. Okay, yeah, you're never going to be. That's the king of fat.
We've seen it all. We're in the music space when. Remember when it was Wiz Khalifa?
Yeah.
It was Big Sean, that whole blog era that they always talk about on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then Chief Keef came and disrupted the market. Somebody has to come disrupt the market. And it's not gonna come from the internet. It's gonna come from a space where it's real. And then their neighborhood, block, city, region can come behind and tell the internet that this is the real thing. It's gonna look. When an artist signs now, they do the same 4 things. They're gonna go do a rap radar. They're gonna go do a mic hanging. They're gonna go do a TikTok campaign. Yeah. There's no new. Everybody's doing the same thing. They're all spinning them through the same wheel. You know what I'm saying?
I think this is true to a degree. We hit the peak of rap in general, which is right now, I do think that there is going to come somebody that disrupts the market, but I think it's not going to be something that goes mainstream because it's got to be the opposite of what's going on. So it's got to be exclusivity. So right now, it's just inclusivity in terms of anybody can listen to the music and it's getting put on every TikTok audio and it's getting spread around. I think it's going to be the opposite of that, where I'm not making this as a prediction, but I could see something like this happening where the artist just makes it really difficult to listen to their music. Like, they're constantly taking their music down from TikTok. They're not allowing it on streaming platforms. They're playing, like, they're limiting their reach purposefully, and then people are constantly, and this forces people to be like, yo, where'd you find this? Like, how do I get this song? And then they share it organically, so it increases word of mouth. And that's something that I could see working, and maybe like exclusive events, exclusive performances, which La Russell's kind of done already, but I think it's going to be even more exclusive, not just like, oh, you can pay and go to this event. I think there's going to be people that get kicked out, people that aren't allowed to be there. I think it's going to be something like that. And when it comes to artists, the content that we've seen from them, like, yeah, fat artist, this artist, yeah, but it's also, you can't beat a person like K Flock or a person like King Von. Like, K Flock came from the tree of King Von, and K Flock was broad day on IG Live talking about, I'm in my ops hood, and then 2 minutes later, he lays down one of his ops. It's like, where do we go from there? So, of course, the people that embody that, they're all getting arrested. And I think that's part of it, why certain genres, subgenres just got killed off, because these guys were creating a lot of the entertainment. And then this is my favorite part, which is when he talks about the kids.
Bro, the kids, I got an AAU team. The kids aren't talking about rappers right now. They're talking about streamers.
Yeah.
Rappers just aren't the thing. It's so, bro, you got to understand, like, people, and it's funny, I was talking to King Yella about this the other day, but people will rent a fucking Lamborghini and think they're on the same playing field as a little baby. Just because they owned rented a Lamborghini, or people have access to the same thing as rappers do now. It's like I said, fans look at rappers as their peers now. They're no longer up here.
What I mean? The thing that fans were getting from Chief Keef in 2011 is the thing that a lot of those same type of kids are getting from Rakai. Because he's a young ass kid who actually is really rebellious. He's really seeing hella money. He's super famous. Yeah. And if you want to be a fan of him, you don't have to buy into the music. Like, I don't know if Rakai's ever made music, but it's like his music would not be as impressive. But meanwhile, as a streamer, he can be very engaging. He's edgy. He like clearly doesn't give a
So I just got to pat myself on the back first, because nobody's going to do it for me. And I'd like you to keep your hands off of me personally. Like, I was just in the public bathroom earlier today, and some guy, like 2 people, had the nerve to walk in, hit the urinal, walk straight out. And not even walk straight out. Look at themselves in the mirror, and then walk straight out. Not wash their hands or anything. So yeah, like, keep your hands to yourself. But this is a screenshot of just official videos I've made. But I've been talking about this for at least 3 years, where I was saying rappers, they're dying in comparison to streamers. And you just look through the comments, because right now everybody will say, like, man, we been you that. Oh, that's obvious. Captain Obvious over it. Look through those comments and look at how many people disagreed. And Sean Cotton is saying that, this exact same thing that I was saying, but he's seeing this himself because he owns like AAU teams or is a partner in them. The kids are not talking about rappers. The discussions are not surrounding the rappers. It's almost like the rapper is a character that gets brought on to the main discussion piece, which is the streamer. And I think this is because streamers have filled the gap of entertainment that rappers used to provide. Because let's say we just go to Adam 22's SoundCloud era, right? These guys were streamers. They weren't actually streaming, but Trippie Redd beefing with 6ix9ine on IG Live, and then Trippie Redd pulls up to New York on a show, and he's got a bruised lip, and 6ix9ine's laughing at him, and Trippie Redd's like beefing back with him on IG Live. These guys were streamers. So it wasn't just the music at that time. You had all of these different characters too. You had different people with face tattoos. You had IG videos being a thing. You had famous decks. You had all types of different characters in this universe, which is exactly what's happening with streaming. So it was just that we didn't have, or it wasn't as mainstream for streamers to be these huge personalities. It was just the musicians in rap that were like that. And this was just rap specifically, because if you look at other genres, like let's say somebody that blew up in the quote-unquote SoundCloud era, like a Khalid, right? Like Khalid blew up, but how much conversation was centered around Khalid? Not much. And the same can be said for other genres. It was just rap that was always popping with stuff to talk about, a lot of which didn't even include the music, like the crazy stunts, like the $23 million diamond that Uzi's putting in his forehead, the beads in Lil Yachty's hair, like the groups falling off or falling out with each other, sailing teams gone. There was constant like drama, conversation pieces, storylines in the music career, and the music was a part of it, that it made it that much more entertaining. Right now, the streamers are providing that entertainment, and then the music is just being used for what it's supposed to be used for, which is just listen to the music, maybe pull up to the artist show. And there are artists that are growing, like Big X the Plug. There isn't much to talk about Big X the Plug. He makes good music. He does his shows. There's a thing here and there people can mention, but that's all there is to it. Is Big X the Plug struggling? I don't think so. And I think that's what music was probably always supposed to be. Granted, hip-hop's always been in a unique spot where it's just created some of the most interesting backstories and personalities, unlike other music genres. But now streamers, their job is to do the entertainment part, and their music's not going to hit. It's not like any of these streamers have had successful music careers other than Blackboy Max, who is, he's trying to make that happen or trying to make that consistent. You've got them making music. Like, for example, I Show Speed probably streams like a successful music artist, but a lot of the music he made was a joke. Like, he's not selling out. People aren't moved by Speed's music, and they're not going to pull up to a show and pay money to go see I Show Speed perform some music. Like, or if they were going to, it would just be for a meetup anyway. And I think that's the distinction that needs to be made, because rappers kind of fell into that whole mysterious thing, which didn't help them. And streamers were blowing up this decade, which is more entertaining to kids. And once the shift became streamers are cooler to kids, like kids are like, I want to be like that guy, then rappers started to become lame, which is kind of healthy, because if you think about it, the last big wave of rappers was drill, like Bronx drill, or like people killing each other. If kids are not as focused on that and not looking up to that, and they're instead looking up to somebody in their room, collaborating, it could be like faking relationships, whatever it is, I think that's a lot healthier for the kids to be entertained by than to us, and for them to even maybe emulate and do for fun themselves, than somebody trying to be the next K-Flock. Like, as much as people want to hate on Rakai, that guy's not doing drugs, he's not getting into fights, he's not threatening people harm, he's just, some people find him annoying and a nuisance and maybe slightly disrespectful, but that's a lot better of an alternative than how many people are locked up behind bars like Tay-K, who wanted to be like Chief Keef, and who else? People that wanted to do drugs like Future, and they're not even with us anymore. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed, and I'm going to see y'all in the next one.